In this video, I'm going to share our frequency chart for the Multistate Essay Exam, or the MEE. First, I want to get you acquainted with the chart, and then we will talk about why it's important. Turning to the chart, on the left-hand side, you'll see all of the testable subjects on the MEE. This means the examiners can test any of these subjects. Along the top of the chart, the bar exam administrations are listed. An X indicates when a subject was tested on its own. An X in parentheses indicates that the subject was tested with another subject. Sometimes this is referred to as a crossover question. This is because the MEE can test multiple subjects on any one question. To give you a few examples, sometimes agency and torts are tested together. Looking at the chart, you can see they have done that a few times, like in July 2013 and February 2015. The examiners have also crossed over criminal procedure and evidence. Again, looking at the chart, you can see that they did that in July 2016. Something else important to take note of is the subject conflict of laws. It's never tested on its own. Instead, it's always crossed over or tested with another subject. For instance, it is usually tested with subjects like civil procedure, family law, and decedent's estates. Now that you have a better idea of what this chart means and how to interpret it, let's talk about why it's so important. This chart can help you study efficiently and effectively. We know that during bar prep, you are really busy, and it's our goal to help you save time along the way. This chart is helpful because while you need to study every subject while prepping for the bar, you should not treat them all the same. We suggest you spend more time with those subjects that are more frequently tested. As for those subjects that are less frequently tested, we suggest you study smart. That means when approaching a subject that is less frequently tested, we would advise you to start by focusing on those topics within the subject that are heavily tested. With that, let's talk about the frequency in which the subjects are tested. We find it helpful to break the subjects down into tiers. Tier 1 subjects are the most frequently tested. Tier 2, a little less, and then Tier 3, the least frequently tested subjects. Tier 1 subjects are civil procedure, which is the most frequently tested subject on the MEE, agency and partnership, contracts, secure transactions, real property, corporations and LLCs, and evidence. If you take a look at the chart, you can see these subjects have the most amount of X's. Tier 2 subjects are trusts and future interests, decedent's estates, constitutional law, torts, and family law. Then finally, Tier 3, the subjects are criminal law and criminal procedure, and conflict of laws. One thing I want to note about our chart is that we have divided up criminal law and procedure, so you can see when each was tested, rather than grouping them together. This is helpful because sometimes the question is criminal law focused, and other times it is criminal procedure focused. Thus, our chart is helpful in differentiating that. So, to recap, the goal of becoming familiar with this chart is to help you study efficiently and effectively. So while you are never going to ignore any one subject while prepping for the bar, we would advise you to first focus on those frequently tested subjects or the Tier 1 subjects, then move on to Tier 2, and finally Tier 3. When you study the less frequently tested subjects, we suggest you start by focusing on the highly tested topics within each one. For example, we discussed how conflict of laws is never tested on its own, and when it is tested, it's crossed over with another subject. The frequently crossed over subjects are civil procedure, family law, and decedent's estates. Thus, when you study conflict of laws, I would suggest starting with those issues that they like to test within the subjects that they frequently cross over. To give you another example, criminal law is not a very frequently tested subject. So when you study the subject, I would suggest you start with those topics that are more heavily tested, like homicide, theft crimes, and the defense of not guilty by reason of insanity. This is studying smart. So again, the purpose of going through that was just to give you some highlights about how to study efficiently and effectively using this chart. If you are interested in learning more about the heavily tested topics within each subject, check out our video on that. We hope you found this video helpful.